the growth lead at Dhan, and thank you for joining us today. So, let me just start by introducing Mr. Rishi. So, Rishi is the head of business development and marketing at MCX, and he has over 25 years of experience across financial services domain from equity, commodity, currency, and financial planning. And we have Miss Ruchi with us, who's the head of energy vertical at MCX. She has over 18 years of experience in financial markets across functions like policy research and product management, risk management, and compliance. And from the Dhan team, we have Mr. Jaiprakash Gupta, who will be hosting the session today for us. And Jay is our founder, and he has been in the industry for more than 15 years, and he has some terrific knowledge about the markets. Over to you, Jay.
Yeah, hi everyone. Thanks, Shraddha, for this warm welcome. And I'm glad that Rishi and Ruchi both could take the time out for this, one of its kind webinar, which we're doing a kickoff with MCX, and the first topic which I've selected is about natural gas and crude. Just to give a context, MCX is one of the leading exchanges in the country, right? So it's one of the largest commodity exchanges, even globally, if you see in terms of volumes which they have been generating. And I have this privilege and opportunity to work closely, with the management team at MCX. And I have seen, how responsive they are in terms of industry's requirement. Even in the days when there was only futures trading which was available in India. I'll try to use a Hindi and English both, for the larger audience which we have. So एक टाइम था जब सिर्फ इंडिया में फ्यूचर्स ट्रेडिंग ही अवेलेबल था एंड कमोडिटीज ग्रो कर रहा था उस समय भी एमसीएक्स वाज द लीडर राइट और आई क्लियरली रिमेम्बर व्हेन क्रूड ऑयल वाज अराउंड $100 वे बैक years back तब इंडिया में एयरलाइंस एयरलाइन कंपनीज हैड अ ग्रेट डिफिकल्टी इन hedging in terms of aviation turbine fuel right. So at that time, it was a very proactive move by MCX. तब उन्होंने ATF futures launch किया, and I was also part of that committee, which designed the ATF contract. तब से मैंने देखा है कि MCX has always been, trying to bring in contracts which is very much relevant to the industry, and this phenomena is still on. And it's more than a decade now, and we still see MCX being the undisputed leader in the country in terms of commodities business. So I would like to understand from Rishi on this, how has been his journey so far, the kind of rich experience which he carries, and what's the way ahead. The commodities from only a futures contract has evolved over a time. There are a lot of products which have come up. Regulator has become very proactive now. So Rishi, आप कैसे देखते हो MCX growth and the new initiatives and how this commodities market is going to evolve in coming future?
Thanks Jay, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद आपका and thank you for having me here. Thanks Shraddha and thanks Ruchi for coming on board. तो जो commodity markets है इसका growth actually अगर आप देखें तो इलेक्ट्रॉनिक फॉर्म में commodities markets सिर्फ पिछले 17 साल से हैं, तो अभी हम 18 के होने वाले, और इक्विटी मार्केट्स ऑलरेडी 27-28 साल के हो चुके हैं, बिकॉज इलेक्ट्रॉनिक फॉर्म में वो 1993 से या 94 से हैं, हम 2003-4 से हैं. So in that sense, we are a decade behind the equity markets in terms of coming up in the electronic form. But equity markets unhindered trade कर रहे थे in the physical form also before 93. मतलब समझ लीजिए 100 साल से ऊपर 125 साल हो गए इक्विटी मार्केट्स फंक्शन कर रहे हैं, बट कमोडिटी बैन था, तो कमोडिटी मार्केट्स को ग्रो करने में काफी समय लग गया, बिकॉज बीच में इतने साल कमोडिटीज का ट्रेडिंग अलाउ ही नहीं था इंडिया में. अदरवाइज यदि आप देखें ग्लोबली तो कमोडिटी डेरिवेटिव्स एज अ परसेंटेज ऑफ द ओवरऑल डेरिवेटिव्स ट्रेड इज रफली 1/4. इंडिया में ये 4% है, तो इसमें बहुत स्कोप है ग्रोथ का. एंड अगर आप देखें जब हमारा रेगुलेटर से भी आया 2015-16 में, उसके बाद से इस मार्केट में काफी नए डेवलपमेंट्स हुए हैं. देयर हैव बीन लॉट ऑफ न्यू प्रोडक्ट्स एंड पार्टिसिपेंट्स. तो जैसा आपने कहा जाए कि पहले सिर्फ फ्यूचर्स थे प्रोडक्ट्स के माध्यम में, तो अभी क्या है, प्रोडक्ट्स में फ्यूचर्स के अलावा वी गॉट ऑप्शंस, then we got options on, so first options on futures, then options on goods, एंड अब हमारे पास इंडेक्स फ्यूचर्स भी आ गए और आगे चल के हम आशा करते हैं कि हो सकता है इंडेक्स पे ऑप्शन भी आए. तो मैं इस पे विस्तार करूंगा थोड़ा एंड आई जस्ट explain what I mean from this. But first, let me also cover the participants. So earlier in commodity markets, the entry of participants has been slightly inverse to what is normally there. So in any market, first you'll find the institutional or large participants coming in and then retail at the last phase. But in commodity markets, you've had retail and corporates from day one, and institutions have been allowed only recently. So category 3 AIFs को पहले allow किया गया, फिर PMS म्यूचुअल फंड एंड वो सबको भी अलाउ किया गया. तो अब वो सब भी पार्टिसिपेट कर रहे हैं और हम आशा करते हैं कि जल्दी FPIs को भी मंजूरी दे दी जाए इस मार्केट में. तो इन टर्म्स ऑफ पार्टिसिपेंट बेस भी ये मार्केट का पार्टिसिपेंट बेस काफी बढ़ेगा. एंड यदि आप देखें कंपेयर टू एनी अदर मार्केट लाइक इक्विटी मार्केट और बॉन्ड मार्केट, जहां पे खाली निवेशक होते हैं या इश्यूअर होता है या प्राइमरी इन्वेस्टर और सेकेंडरी इन्वेस्टर होता है, कमोडिटी मार्केट्स में द पार्टिसिपेंट बेस नेचुरली इज वेरी लार्ज. So for example, in any commodity, you will have the end producer to the end consumer and the entire value chain in between. So for example, किसान या primary producer of a metal रहेगा, intermediate consumers रहेंगे जो suppose metal को wire rod में बना रहे हैं या plate में बना रहे हैं, फिर उसका जैसे पंखा बनाने वाला आ जाएगा तो वो मेटल को कंज्यूम करेगा. सो बहुत सारे लोग होते हैं, इंपोर्टर होता है, एक्सपोर्टर होता है, आड़तिया होता है, commission merchant, trader, and then of course you have investors and market traders as well. So this is a very wide ecosystem. Then coming back to the products, so first we had only futures. अब futures क्या है इंडिया में, cost of trading is very high, so normally we see that, and also investors who are risk averse may not want to trade in futures, they might want to buy options and trade, and that is why we got options trading. आज के दिन MCX में ऑप्शंस में कई प्रोडक्ट्स हैं. तो हमारे पास गोल्ड है, सिल्वर है 30 किलो, सिल्वर 5 किलो जिसको सिल्वर मिनी बोला जाता है. देन वी हैव क्रूड, वी हैव नेचुरल गैस व्हिच वी रिसेंटली लॉन्च्ड, देन वी हैव कॉपर, जिंक एंड निकल. तो काफी प्रोडक्ट्स हैं और आशा करते हैं और भी प्रोडक्ट्स इसमें लाएंगे. और हमने हाल में ही 3 इंडेक्स लॉन्च किए, पिछले 2020 से लेके अभी तक 3 इंडेक्स लॉन्च किए, इंडेक्स फ्यूचर्स. पहला इंडेक्स लॉन्च किया जो बुलडेक्स है, वो बुलियन इंडेक्स है जिसमें सोना और चांदी का मिश्रण है. सेकेंड इज द मेटल डेक्स जिसमें 5 बेस मेटल ट्रेडेड ऑन MCX मिक्स्ड है, कॉपर, लेड, जिंक, एल्यूमिनियम, निकल. एंड थर्ड इज द एनर्जी डेक्स जिसमें क्रूड और नेचुरल गैस है. नाउ द ब्यूटी ऑफ द इंडेक्स इज दैट फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल लेट अस टेक एन इंडेक्स से लाइक द मेटल डेक्स. Now, suppose you were betting on economic recovery or growth in the economy, and naturally you will feel that maybe base metals would rise, but you don't know which one to buy. तो आप इंडेक्स खरीद सकते हैं. दूसरी बात, आपको 5 पोजीशन नहीं मेंटेन करने 5 बेस मेटल में. तीसरी बात, ये कैश सेटल प्रोडक्ट है. और चौथी बात कि अगर आप 5 बेस मेटल में एक्सपोजर लेंगे तो हो सकता है आपका एक्सपोजर हो सकता है लाखों में, टेंस ऑफ लैक्स में, ऑलमोस्ट 1 करोड़ तक पहुंच जाए. लेकिन इसमें आप 7-8 लाख रुपए में एक्सपोजर ले सकते हैं. सो इन दैट सेंस it gives you an exposure at a low outlay and it is a cash settled product. अब हम आशा यही करते हैं कि इंडेक्स पे भी जब ऑप्शंस आएंगे तो इसमें और काम बढ़ेगा क्योंकि वो भी कैश सेटल्ड अगर होंगे तो उसमें और काम आएगा. तो रिसेंटली जो हमारे जो सबसे ज्यादा पॉपुलर ऑप्शन कॉन्ट्रैक्ट है वो क्रूड, जिसको विस्तार में रुचि बताएगी. और अब जो नेचुरल गैस लॉन्च किया वो भी कम पॉपुलर नहीं होगा, काफी स्पीड से बढ़ रहा है वो, तो उसमें भी काफी ग्रोथ आएगा. और जैसे आपने कहा MCX इज वन ऑफ द लार्जेस्ट एक्सचेंजेस, तो ग्लोबली वी आर रैंक्ड 7th, 7वां रैंक है ग्लोबली इन कमोडिटी एक्सचेंजेस. एंड इंडिया में हमारा लगभग 94% मार्केट शेयर है. सो 94% मार्केट शेयर इन कमोडिटी फ्यूचर्स. So, we are very hopeful that this market will continue to grow and add more and more participants. So, thanks again and back to you, Jay.
Thanks, Rishi. And then just to add, globally, आप देखें, so in terms of market size, the largest market is of forex market, right? Second comes commodity, and third comes equity, right? So in US, commodities market is 3 times of equities market, but India is, I think this will evolve as and when the market becomes more mature. We will have more commodity volumes coming, and at some point of time we may even surpass the equity volumes. Now, having said that, my question to Ruchi is, crude oil has always been in news now, and at $90 Brent, we are seeing कि शायद हो सकता है फिर से $100 mark can be reached. Where a lot of houses are predicting that in 2022 we may have $100 of crude again. So as crude का $100 होना, and now we all are affected by it. Be it rising petrol prices, be it rise of essential commodity prices. So for a trader as well as as an ordinary citizen, right? Especially more for a trader, what they should do now and what are the factors they should look into. Crude prices बढ़ता कैसे है? If you can throw some light on that. Over to you, Ruchi.
Thank you, Jay. Thank you, Shraddha. So there are many factors actually जो we can market can track for crude oil, which actually yes, as Jay pointed out, there are different forecasts. There are different entities. Some are like forecasting ki is $100 is not far off or something, and there are others who are forecasting ki maybe it may drip down. But as an exchange, we are really not allowed to focus. So I will just stick on to the fundamentals. So fundamentally, crude in India may we are the one of the largest importers of the crude oil because its production is बहुत कम है हमारे देश में crude का. So all the global factors taken together impact the prices of crude in domestic markets also, and there internationally linkages there. And हमारा जो contract है that is linked to WTI which trades on CME group. अब fundamentally जो market को track पहला सबसे पहले हमारा ऑयल सोचते हैं तो ओपेक इज द वर्ड विच कम्स टू आवर माइंड. यस, तो ओपेक का जो अनाउंसमेंट्स आते हैं विच रेगुलरली द मीटिंग्स आर हेल्ड जनरली मंथली बेसिस, तो दैट हैव always have had an impact on the crude oil. Generally, OPEC announcements come to sometimes even stabilize the constant increase or the constant decrease happening. So, by the recent which came in the first week of Jan, so OPEC announcement came in that they are going to increase by 4 lakh million barrels per day going ahead from the next month onwards. So that means कि supply is going to increase put out in the market. तो ये हमारा supply, this is what helps us to stay. But with the supply, we also need to understand the spare capacity available. Basically, the eastern country like Saudi and all, plus the OECD countries, now there's a capacity should be available to bring in that kind of a supply. And right now what we are seeing is the spare capacity which is being available with the oil producing countries is not very high. So whatever supply can be brought in is not to a very, cannot increase to a larger extent. On the other hand, demand side, if we see, even with the Omicron variant coming in initial stages, yes, December kind of a thing, everybody was trying to understand how much impact the Omicron can have. But gradually, if we see, starting off with Spain, UK, then even in India and some states, we are opening up to see that this is the call of the day. We got to live with it with different kind of variants. So opening up, basically with the opening up, we will see logistics opening up, transportation, people moving out again. So that all, and the demand for the crude being going up. So both these factors generally have a impact on the crude. Next, we are seeing the inventories. Generally, globally, people track the US crude oil inventories. Now, every Wednesday, if I would like to state, every Wednesday, EIA comes out with the inventory report, which is around 8 p.m. IST time it comes out. So that is the report which is tracked by the market participants, because that helps you to let you know whether the inventory is building up. The inventory is building up, which clearly shows, yes, your demand is less, or the drawdowns are more. That means supply come hai, but the demand is increasing. Another factor is the US rig counts. Rig means the number of the production facilities, basically the refinery facilities. Now, if there is an increase in the rig counts, that means the supply is going to be built up. So that report also, it comes out by every Friday. It comes, it's given by Hughie. So this comes around 10:30 p.m. IST. every Friday. So that is one of the report also which is tracked for that. And these reports come for natural gas also, if I would like to state. Only thing is, the natural gas inventory report comes on Thursdays. Again, 8 p.m. IST. Plus the rig count report comes along with the crude only on Fridays. And then our next point will be geopolitical events. Russia, Ukraine. That's the latest talks. So these have a very larger impact, whether now Russia, Ukraine, whether the war is going to happen or not, is going to impact this forecast which we are having, whether crude is going to hit out beyond its resistance levels, which is lying between somewhere 90 to 95, whether it is going to go beyond those levels or it will go down. The geopolitical event right now is a major event which is going to decide. Then we have currency exchange, basically the appreciation or the depreciation of dollar. Now, that has a very larger impact on the crude oil prices. General economic conditions, the GDP, we all understand. We have seen the general, if we see the economics, we have seen the pandemic era. 2019, everything, the globally, the countries were performing, GDPs were the highest, but 2020 with the pandemic hitting in, everything struck down. So that uncertainty. So these factors are generally, I would like to state, is the entire market stakeholders really track out to better understand these markets. And these three reports which I am saying, yeah, this will be a very useful kind of thing to see how what movement we are going to see further.
Yeah, thanks, Ruchi. Yeah. So now, now, as we all know that, MCX has also come up with natural gas options, and isse pehle we had crude oil options as well. So that this gives a lot of advantage to traders, especially where the margin requirement बढ़ जाता है futures contract में, और बहुत सारे tools available नहीं होते हैं position को hedge करने के लिए, और even if you want to trade in options, right, it's quite effective because on a days like inventory, जिसमें movements are very erratic, you can take great advantage by having option strategies built. So there's one question which most of our traders at Dhan, they ask, and there is also an apprehension with them, that equities में क्या होता है कि when you trade in stock options, right? So अगर आपका contract in the money हो गया, so you have to end up taking delivery or you have to give delivery, right? And when you talk of natural gas and crude, stocks किसी के पास होता है, but nobody owns natural gas and crude. So if you can just throw some light on this कि ये settle कैसे होगा, and last day में आप contract अगर छोड़ देते हो, so what is how will you settle it?
Yes. Yes, Jay. This is a very pertinent point, especially in case of our energy contracts. Now, with the options entering, natural gas में options launch करके, now crude also has your futures options, and NG is also having futures options. And the market has seen, we have seen how crude futures actually took a hit when the WTI went negative. The growth, we have grown back, but not to the original numbers. But yes, options, because options garnered a lot of interest from the market, as Jay clearly pointed out, because it is very cost effective product, cost effective derivative instrument है. तो options, crude options बहुत अच्छा परफॉर्म कर रहे हैं हमारे प्लेटफॉर्म पे. Now इसका बेसिक पर्टिनेंट क्वेश्चन क्या है, ये हमारे जो फ्यूचर्स हैं, क्रूड फ्यूचर्स एंड नेचुरल गैस फ्यूचर्स, वो कैश सेटल प्रोडक्ट है. एंड जो हमारे ऑप्शंस हैं दोनों, हमारे ये ऑप्शंस ऑन फ्यूचर्स हैं. तो ऑन एक्सरसाइज और सेटलमेंट, नाउ दीज गेट डिवॉल्व इनटू फ्यूचर्स. बट फ्यूचर्स में डिवॉल्व होने के बावजूद यू डू नॉट हैव द थ्रेट टू डिलीवरी, बिकॉज इन दोनों प्रोडक्ट्स के फ्यूचर प्रोडक्ट्स कैश सेटल्ड. सो आफ्टर 2 days एनी हाउ, अगर आपका एक्सरसाइज हो भी जाता है, एनी हाउ आफ्टर 2 days व्हेन दैट फ्यूचर्स कॉन्ट्रैक्ट इज एक्सपायरिंग द अंडरलाइंग, इट विल बी अ कैश सेटल्ड प्रोडक्ट. सो ये एक बहुत बड़ी एक्चुअली दिस अ वेरी यूजफुल बेनिफिट फॉर द मार्केट कि देयर इज नो थ्रेट टू डिलीवरी. जो एक कंसर्न है विच इज इन इक्विटी ऑल्सो विद द डेरिवेटिव्स leading to delivery of the shares, there's no threat to delivery in your crude oil futures and options and natural gas futures and options contract. And अगर हम Abhi currently with the new changes coming in, which have been brought on by the SEBI with the recent circular, हमारा जो CTM category है, now till date what is happening is ATM, so plus 2 strikes up and 2 strikes below, together they are counted at close to the money. And for Jay, if you can allow me to share the screen, I think market will understand better. So I have one slide over here. Because this is with this new recent circular, this really becomes apt for us to understand. Now, yes, till date, what is happening is ATM plus 2 down, up above 2 down is totally close to the money. And these are getting exercised on, if it's a ATM and CTM, it will exercise only on your explicit instruction. Otherwise, if it's in the money, it is exercised automatically unless and until you are giving a contrary instruction. And out of the money, as we know, all are expiring worthless. So what exercise here means कि आपके options contracts के if long है तो long, futures contract में it will devolve. And since crude and natural gas in both, the options are expiring 2 business days prior to the expiry of the futures. So 2 days afterwards, futures, when futures settle, they are cash settled. So that's how this is very useful. But now going ahead, as with the effect from all the contracts which will get launched after your 1st February, the CTM category is being removed. So it will be, so in the money will be exercised automatically unless contrary, and out of the money expires worthless, which is very important for all of us to note. If I will specify for crude and natural gas, this will be starting from the May expiry. The May expiry contracts will have this no CTM till the April ones. We are having the CTM in our contracts, CTM category. So, Jay, yes, please. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Ruchi, on this. So in short, just to simplify things, contracts which are there in options will be cash settled, so there is no fear of you entering into any kind of physical delivery into it.
Yes.
Thanks, Ruchi, for walking us through that deck. It was really insightful.
Thank you, Shikha.
So everyone, just a little bit of housekeeping. So whatever questions you have, we will be taking this towards the end of the session. And now just allow me to introduce Mr. Naman Sharma from the Dhan team. So Naman is our product manager and he has built some incredible features to help you trade in commodities. And he will just walk us through some of the features which we have built. Over to you, Naman.
Yeah, hi Shraddha, hi everyone. So let me just tell you like how you can trade commodities and options on Dhan trading platform. Right now I am the Dhan's trading website, web.dhan.co, and from the home page itself, you can directly go to the commodities with this tab. I'll click on the commodities and you can see that all the commodities are listed here, from aluminium to the index as well, everything. These are the futures. And to access options, you just need to toggle this button and you'll be able to get all these options. Natural gas abhi launch hua hai, and we have natural gas as well. And when you click on the natural gas, you will get all the active, like top 5 contracts of natural gas right now with OI. You can directly buy or sell, you can go to the charts, you can get information as well. And if you want to go to the option chain, yahan se aap option chain par click kariye, directly आप option chain पर होंगे. Okay, we have 2 types of option chain. एक छोटा version जो simple है and the advanced one with more IV and percentage changes as well. From this option chain also you can directly buy or sell, or you can check the depth or directly go to the charts as well. Okay, there is one more thing here. Like you can go to the tradingview.com, like tradingview.dhan.co from here, where you will get the look and feel what the tradingview.com has directly. So generally, like tradingview.com do not have options. So you will have the same look and feel, and you can trade options as well from this platform. Okay. And moving on, like like what Ruchi ma'am was saying, when you have the report or inventory data on Friday and Thursdays, you can create the strategies, your baskets, like a straddle, like market will move in a direction, will give you a spike. So you can create baskets and execute multiple orders as well from here. Okay. So that's it for now. There are much more things to explore, like log into web.dhan.co or mobile application. You will get much more things.
Yeah, thanks, Naman. Thanks for the insight. So this what we have created on Dhan is it's beneficial both for not only for a commodity option trader, but for overall trading experience even in commodities, where you get a lot of information at one point, where you can utilize it for your trading or hedging strategies. Now I'd like to come to Rishi again. Rishi, if you can also recall this, is this is a question which if you are here, and I think I should ask you, and this is for the benefit of our audience as well. Commodities was always treated as a separate asset class. लोगों को लगता है कि if I trade in commodities, मतलब common कुछ नहीं है. So equity traders are different, commodity traders are different. But how do you see a correlation between these two markets? So as I said earlier, also globally, if you see, commodities market are much bigger than equities market. So it's almost 3 times of what the equities market are. So what is your experience and insights into this?
So thanks for that question. It's a very pertinent question. First of all, commodities are inversely correlated to equities and bonds in the long run. So when there is global liquidity sloshing around everywhere, then of course everything moves unidirectionally. But in the long run, equities and bonds move inversely to commodities, which means that if you have an exposure to both equities and commodities, and you're long on both, chances that you go right, I mean, maybe in one, in the long run. So the point being that when you have a meal, you don't only eat chapatis or you only don't eat rice. You have some dal, you have some sabzi, you have a balanced meal. Similarly, when you trade or build a portfolio, you don't only have equities. You have equities, you have real estate, you have insurance, you have fixed income instruments, and you have commodities. So then your portfolio is complete. So there are many periods when you see extended drawdowns in equities when commodities do well, and vice versa. So ideally, one should have an exposure to commodities also. And most traders or investors go long only. So, it is a good hedge to have different asset classes in your portfolio, because then your the standard deviation or the risk of your portfolio goes down.
Yeah, thanks, Rishi. Yeah, just to add also to your point,
No, so I have a question for you, Jay. So, given your experience in this market, and you've been around in this market also for more than 15 years, so what is your understanding and view of these markets and how it benefits people?
Yeah, this is a great question, Rishi. So I think understanding both markets give a trader or investor a lot of advantage. See, I'll share certain relevant data so that makes things more clearer. Say when there is coffee production shortage, you'll find the coffee stocks doing well. Okay, so if you understand commodities, you are able to track. See, last year there was a shortage of coffee production in Brazil. And if you see in India, the stocks which are related to coffee have shot up. Okay, so that gives you one kind of understanding. Second, you also can understand that when crude oil prices go up, and right now in India there are a lot of oil marketing companies who are not regulated, right? They can fix their own oil prices. So if you see a higher crude oil prices gives a better margin to these OMC companies. So I have seen HPCL, BPCL, those stocks are doing well. Okay, so this is a direct relevance in terms when you are an equity trader and you need to understand commodities. थोड़ा सा और इसको broadly देखें. So if you see, most of the sectors are commodity driven, because any old economic stock has a underlying which is commodities, right? So if you talk of FMCG, if you talk of oil and gas, if you talk of any mineral metals, if you understand the demand supply and the forecast of that particular commodity for a few years, you have a better idea that companies which are lying there, how they're going to perform. Just to take a simple example, 2-3 years back, there was shortage of aluminum and copper. Okay, these companies like Hindalco, National Aluminium, the prices have almost tripled from there. So when you know that there is a demand supply gap in actual physical world in commodities, the companies which are operating in that domain are likely to benefit. So that gives you a direct advantage. The fourth point I would like to add is there is, as you rightly said, there is negative correlation. When you see that equities market are correcting, there are two things which can go up. One is your rupee will become weak, so you can always take advantage of buying USD INR. And second is whenever there is a panic in equities market, there is a chance that the economy is not going to do well. People tend to rush towards buying gold. So you see gold prices going up. So having a mixed portfolio and understanding commodities makes you a better trader and investor.
Oh, that's a great point, Jay, because actually understanding the correlation and what is going to move in equities based on commodity market price signals is also a very smart thing for investors to do. I just like to add a couple of things that when you take exposure to an internationally referenced commodity, say gold, you automatically get a free currency hedge. So, for example, you bought gold at $1,800 an ounce. Suppose the international price of gold is $1,800 an ounce, and in India the rupee is 74. Then a month later, the gold price is still $1,800. So ideally, the price should not move. But if the rupee moves to 75, you see the domestic price of gold going up. So in that sense, it gives you an inbuilt hedge, a free currency hedge. Second point is that commodities give you a hedge against inflation. So when you're seeing inflation going up, if you have a commodity portfolio, then naturally you'll always be hedged against inflation, because inflation is nothing but increasing prices of goods and services, and goods include commodities.
Yeah, that's a great point. Just to before we open for a Q&A, so I would like to ask Naman once. Naman, if you can just throw some light, how our Dhan platform is so cost effective for any trader, who wants to trade in options. So you can just share some data on that.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So let me just share this screen. Jay has written an article on our community post regarding like natural gas, how cost efficient natural gas trading is on Dhan platform. Like I'll show you. So yeah, this is the article. So what happens now with all the transaction costs, CTT, SEBI charges, and brokerages? So the break-even point for the natural gas is just 0.062. And if you multiply it with the lot size of 1250, somewhat it comes 64 rupees. And per tick movement of natural gas is around 62.5. So in the second tick itself, users can make profit, or they will be in the green in the second tick of natural gas if you trade on Dhan, because of the charges and brokerages, everything. So that is what, and you can refer this article on community.dhan.co. So you will get the detail in. Okay.
Yeah, thanks, Naman. So over to you, Shraddha. So I think we can open the floor for question and answers.
Hi everyone. Thanks Naman, thanks Rishi. So everyone just send in your questions and we'll take them one by one. So I'll just wait for another 1-2 minutes before we start getting questions. So we have our first question from Satish. Jay, it's for you. So Satish is asking if we have any plans for scalping algorithms on natural gas on Dhan.
Yeah, Satish, hi. So we are trying to develop something on this. So I think we are working on the product. So hopefully in coming times, very soon you will be able to provide you that.
And also Satish, we have a feature called webhook alerts, So you can write your own algo on PineScript editor of TradingView, and using a webhook alert, you can directly place order on Dhan for all the other than the algorithm what you are asking. Right now we have this.
Okay, so we have one more question coming in. Rishi and Ruchi, it is for you. So the question is, where do you see MCX in the next 10 years? And can we see it next to like CME of India?
See, the point is that India is a story whose time has come. The Prime Minister is saying we'll be a $5 trillion
Right.
economy next. And, when the markets fell, there was this WhatsApp circulating everywhere that the best tip is buy India, $3 trillion economy, target $5 trillion economy. So, everyone is bullish on India. And if India grows, any economy grows on the back of infrastructure, and for infrastructure you need commodities. So if India grows, if infrastructure grows, commodities won't be far behind, and if commodity grows, MCX won't be far behind.
We have another question from Mr. Rupesh. So he's asking, so he's basically an option strategy trader, and he's asking that with a predefined loss and profit, can we build option strategies in natural gas and crude? Because liquidity is an issue. So how do we tackle that?
And this for you, Rishi.
See, liquidity is not an issue in crude and natural gas. It's super liquid, the options. So, there is no issue of liquidity in crude and natural gas options. And that is why, of course, you should always have a predefined stop loss when you trade. And you can always build your option strategies. But I think, exit is very easy in crude and natural gas given the liquidity that there is.
In fact, yesterday only, since the inception, natural gas options, as you know, have recently been around, but we clocked around 264 crores. And on the whole, if you see the crude options, we are doing on an average basis around 7,500 crores of ADT. So definitely.
Yeah, and when Ruchi says this 250 or 7,500, actually for you all, when you calculate, it will be double because we calculate only half.
Yes. We calculate only single, so it's a double if we the other side. So the entry and exits are not a difficulty. It's the liquidity is available in both our options and futures contracts as well.
So we have one more question along the similar lines. Basically, it's that if we buy an MCX option and if it becomes illiquid, what happens to the buyer?
Okay, so it's a very in commodity options, it is the mechanism is such that even if your option becomes illiquid, and options can become illiquid for anyone if there's a major movement and it goes deep in the money or deep out of the money during the course of the contract. But you have a chance when it will devolve. So if it is deep in the money and it becomes illiquid, then also at the expiry, it will devolve into the futures and then you can square up the futures. So you get an exit.
Okay. So we have one more question. So basically, how can a new person educate themselves more about commodity trading?
Okay, so this is a very simple thing to answer. If you want to research equities, you have to go into a specific share and find resources. But for commodities, the resources are available on the net on a global basis. So there are so many. So today, if someone wants, they can try and manipulate a single stock price. But commodities are traded globally and referenced globally. So it is very difficult to move the price of a commodity by any one person. And also in the same vein, there's so much data available on commodities across the world that it is very easy. The exchange websites have a lot of data. On the net, you can find a lot of resources where you will find research about commodities. So it's very easy to research about commodities. And also there are not thousands of commodities that are traded. There are only dozens. So it's very easy to track them.
And just to add in here, if directly on, as Srisha already pointed on our websites, we have product manuals for each of the commodity traded on our platform. We have hedging manuals for each commodity as well. And regularly we have been conducting multiple webinars, like to tell you we have been conducted 1,200 plus webinars, which really give you a lot of perspective on all the commodities traded on the MCX platform.
All right. So we have one more question for you, Rishi and Ruchi. I mean, really curious. So we have don't have many agri products on MCX like cocoa, coffee, oranges, or masala for that matter. So can we expect this in the future?
Ruchi, want me to take it?
Sorry, I actually missed hearing
Okay,
from
okay, I'll answer it. See, there is a list of commodities that can be traded on exchanges, which is given out by the government. Within that list, we keep exploring which commodities could grab a market. See, when you trade commodities on exchanges, that the advantage is that there's adequate volumes, but you also have to see the market size, the perishability or the storability of that commodity. There are various issues, whether it's standardized across the country, etc. So there are a lot of considerations that go into identifying a commodity that could be traded on an exchange and thereafter launching it. So we keep exploring which commodities could be launched or not launched, and thereafter we bring them to the market.
Yeah, Shraddha, so are there any more questions?
Yeah, we just have one more question. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. So the question is, can we expect WTI on MCX?
WTI is already, you're talking about Brent or WTI? WTI is already traded on MCX.
already.
Brent is not traded.
Brent, sorry, yeah.
See, I don't know. The WTI is already, and as we all know, there's a very high correlation between the Brent and the WTI prices. So again, that question of liquidity. So if the WTI is highly traded, any price linkages to Brent can easily be, you can hedge or even trade through our WTI contract.
Okay. So one last question. So it is basically, how often will margins be scanned for NRML NG futures?
Basically, Rishi, I really want to understand what's the scan.
So when you are talking about scanning, I understand there could be two connotations. I'll answer both. One is that we run the margin files, 5 times in a day. So 4 times in the day before 5 o'clock, and thereafter 3-4 times again. So at regular intervals, we do that margin scanning. So if that is what he means. If he means margin resetting or evaluation, that is done from time to time. So the clearing corporation of MCX looks at the margins, and the margins are based on VAR, like it is in equities. So based on the value at risk, the margins are set, and thereafter they are revised from time to time basis the value at risk.
And we have one more question. So basically, are there any ETFs coming up with commodities?
So there's already gold ETFs which are there, which invest in gold. Recently, silver ETFs have been permitted, and you are seeing a lot of NFOs coming for silver ETFs. And most of these ETFs invest in the physical as well as the exchange traded gold and silver.
So I think we are done with most of the questions. So audience, are there any more questions, or we can close the session? Okay, all right. Okay. Thanks, Rishi. Thanks, Ruchi, for your time today, especially on a Friday. It has been great having you with us, and a wonderful session for all of our Dhan users and also everyone present here today. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Shraddha. Thanks, Jay.
Thank you,
Thanks for
Shraddha.
having us here. Thanks,
Thank you,
Namrata.
Shraddha.
And
Thank
this
you,
is
Jay.
just the
Thank you.
beginning. I will be doing more such sessions where it will give our users as well as to the overall audience understanding on how commodity works. So we'll be doing it on a regular basis along with you all, so that we can.
It'll be a pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, any questions, please feel free to reach out to us. We are active on Twitter, or you can even send us your queries regarding commodity trading on our community, and we will do one more session with Ruchi and Rishi to help you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Have a
everyone.